Well, hello. Good morning, or I guess it's technically afternoon. Welcome back. Welcome if you are new here. My name is Sarah Jane, and today we're going to get some writing in. Super excited to see some people here. Okay. Please bear with me. I'm still remembering how to live stream in the new year because I essentially didn't live stream at all in December. And so it takes me a second to remember how to do everything. But let's see who we have in the chat. Okay, moving stuff around. We have Green Ruled. Hello, welcome. Stephanie's Story. Hello. So I'll be posting something soon, but Stephanie's Story and I are going to be actually live streaming together next week. It'll be my very first time having another guest on the channel, so be sure to come. It'll be at 1 o'clock next week, and actually, I don't know if Stephanie and I have talked about the time. We'll talk about the time, just kidding. But I will post that sometime, and be sure to come back and say hi to us then. Okay, we have Kajhim. Hi. I feel like I always butcher this. I'm so sorry if I do. Let's see. We have, hi all. It's been a while since I've worked on my whip, so today will likely just be me reading my notes and getting reacquainted with the story. Honestly, that's totally okay. Sometimes you just need to remember your project. I will get into this probably here in a second in the stream, but I'm having to do that right now. And not today on the live stream. You know what? Let's just go ahead and talk about it really quick. So essentially today I'm going to be working on a query letter for Project Crown, which is my Greek mythological fiction novel about the Amazons. And I'm kind of going through a flow right now, getting a couple out each week as people are slowly opening their boxes again. But with that being said, I am trying to get into the right mind frame of starting a new whip. And if you guys remember, this was back in June when I released this video, but I talked about a new concept idea that I had. I've written 3 chapters. I've reread the chapters. So kind of going back to your comment of re-immersing yourself and seeing what you've written. And I like the chapters. I just don't know if I'm in the right mind frame to write the story, if that makes sense. So I've written 3 chapters. I've given those 3 chapters to Evelyn here on YouTube, and she is just reading through them. And I don't know. So I'm between continuing that or starting a new project, but I don't love anything enough yet to write. So I'm just kind of thinking about it. Sorry, I just went off a tangent there a little bit. Margo, says hello, hoping to have a productive day with draft 4, but also cleaning my apartment. Draft 4 is amazing. I don't think I'm super familiar with what you're working on. Please let me know what you guys are working on, because draft 4 is amazing. There's no set number of how many drafts you need before you're done with your work. And then depending on what you want to do, if you want to go traditional publishing or if you want to go self-publishing or whatever you want to do. But for me, I found that 5 drafts was a really good number before trying to start the traditional process. So sounds like you have a pretty cleaned up, good piece of work there. Stephanie says, and it's my first live stream. So excited. Yes, we're so excited. So for context, if you guys are relatively new, I actually did not start live streaming. Okay, wait, let me back it up. I started live streaming as a guest on other people's accounts for literally all of 2025. It started with Natalie Jane Shields in January. She reached out to me at the new year and asked me to be a guest. And I started with her channel, and I kind of was just a guest on a lot of other people's channels for a long time. And then finally November, right? So it took me a whole freaking year. I was like, okay, it is time. I need to try streaming on my own. And so I have tried streaming on my own, which has been really, really fun, and I like it. But I also think it's so fun to have guests, right? So we are now bringing on our first guest. I'm still trying to figure out kind of the logistics, because as you guys can see on my setup is kind of different than the traditional setup with StreamYard or anything like that. So because my setup is different, I'm kind of having to like beta test to make sure that it works properly when having a guest. And if it doesn't, if all else fails, like I'll flip to StreamYard and we'll use StreamYard. But I'd really like to use my setup because I spent a lot of time making this pink setup and I'd like to use it. So we'll see. Fingers crossed that we have no technical difficulties next week. Margot K says, I just started draft 4 of my fantasy product. It is a secondary world fantasy inspired by Ottoman occupied Greece. Oh, very cool. Yeah, hoping draft 5 will be my final. That's so awesome. Yeah, I went to Greece forever ago at this point. Like I think it was 2014 is when I went to Greece, and I really, really enjoyed Greece. So then when I wrote my book about the Amazons, it was like really fun to kind of go back into that world of like ancient Greece and kind of explore it and from a new mindset. And yeah, that sounds like a really fun time. I can't wait to hear more about that. Stephanie says I cannot talk today. What is wrong with me? I haven't finished my coffee. That's probably what it is. Stephanie says, today I'll be working on revisions after draft 3. Very exciting. I feel like Stephanie, like as with all drafts, like draft 1, took a huge bulk of time. But then like, I feel like you hit draft 2 and draft 3 really quick, really fast. And like, that's amazing. I feel like for me personally, when I think back on my drafting process for Project Crown, draft 1 obviously took forever. And then I feel like draft 2 and draft 3 both took multiple months. And then once I hit draft 4, things were like really clicking. I feel like a lot of that has to do, at least for me personally with my experience, a lot of it has to do with, I think, getting really solid beta reader feedback from the beginning, which was really humbling, right? Because that was the beginning of my writing journey with that book. But I feel like taking that criticism, really like leafing through that feedback and determining what worked best, like really, I feel like set me up personally once I got it to a later phase. So yeah, I wish you guys all the best of luck with all your projects today. So the way I figured we could stream today is do 2 30-minute sprints. As I mentioned, I'm going to be working on 2 query letters. I don't know if I mentioned that. I am trying to get 2 query letters out today. So 1 for each 30-minute segment is what I plan on doing. And then on the top right hand corner, you guys can kind of see like what I'll be working on. So you guys, if you guys are ever curious about the querying process, it's a lot of work. Maybe I'll make a video about it later on. I feel like I was woefully unprepared to understand how much synthesizing of information it took. But you guys will see me kind of like go back and forth between different spreadsheets and like looking at different things. So if you guys are just curious about that, that's what I have up on my screen. But let me go ahead and pull up the timer. Oh my gosh. And hopefully you guys are having a good weekend. My weekend has been super chill. It rained all day yesterday, so we're enjoying a sunny day today. Okay, I have the 30-minute timer set, and we're going to go ahead and get started. I'll see you guys on the other side. All right, testing 1, 2, and 3. Hopefully you guys can hear me. How did that sprint go for everyone? Feel free to share last lines or word counts in the chat. For me personally, that sprint went really well. So my goal was to get one query letter out. That is indeed what I got done. Okay, so when you're at the beginning of your query process, you're really trying to figure out if your query letter actually works. So I've actually rewritten my query letter. I think it's like 9 times. Hold on. Let me check. Let me check. Yeah. No. Hold on. 7. No. Yes. I've rewritten my query letter 7 times. So anyways, all that's to say is like you're really trying to figure out if your query letter is actually landing with agents. And an easy way to do that is if you can find an agent with high response times. So I pay for the Query Tracker premium membership, and what that allows me to do is see like response timelines for these agents and how long it takes them to respond. So during the sprint, I found an agent who actually responds on average within 4 days. So even though she wasn't someone I was sure that my work would fit perfectly for her, because she honestly didn't have a lot of info on her page about what she was looking for. She just listed like 4 genres and that was it. Versus some agents will be like, I'm looking for like a mythology, fantasy, similar to I, Medusa, right? And then they'll say why they liked that book. She didn't do any of that. So I went ahead and queried her just because I feel like it'd be nice to know, because sometimes people will say like, oh, this doesn't work for me for this reasons, or it just lets you know a little bit more about if your query letter is actually working, and if it's not, you can kind of keep tweaking it, which is what I've done over the last month or so. So anyways, that's how that went for me. Let's go to the chat, shall we? Okay. We have 322 words. Amazing progress in 30 minutes. I love that for you. Margot said, just a few lines away from finishing chapter 8. Yes, snaps. We love that. There is like, when I was drafting, that was like my favorite thing, was to finish a chapter. It just felt so satisfying to just be like, okay, another one bites the dust. You know what I mean? Stephanie says, slow but steady progress. I'm working on what I need to add, cut, and making a list of problems I need to fix. Yes. So that is the tough part, because you're in draft 3. That is the tough part. I feel like at this point you have written the foundation of your story, and you know, you've really got some of the characters perhaps where you want them, but then you're starting to potentially maybe, like, at least for me personally, that's when I started realizing, oh, I have like a plot hole here, or oh, I need to fix this. And I can imagine maybe that might be what you're going through as well. Feel free to chime in if I'm totally off base here, but that was just my experience. Draft 3 was tough for me because like you have that adrenaline of being like, yes, I have a completed like document. It looks so good. She's so sexy. And then you're rereading it and you're like, we got some things we need to fix in here. Stephanie says, no, that's totally it. Okay, yeah. So we're on the same page. I totally get where you're coming from and what you're feeling right now. And all I have to say is like, don't lose hope. There is like another side. Draft 3 probably was the hardest for me. And arguably, so for me personally, I had 2 beta readers per draft, starting at draft 2 until I got to draft 4. And then I actually had 4 beta readers. And the reason I did it that way was because I did so much work in draft 3 getting to draft 4 that by the time I hit draft 4, I was like, I want more people to tell me and make sure I didn't miss anything. And so yeah, draft 3 was tough, but you totally got this. I believe in you. You go, girl. Let's see. We have feeling a little bit, I cannot talk today, guys. Feeling a little more familiar with the story again and continuing on some story development before hopefully starting to draft in February. Amazing. Amazing. Remind me, what are you working on again? I remember you told us in a previous live stream, but it escapes me at this time. I think like my timeline, fingers crossed, I don't know, we'll see. I think for me personally, I would like to, of course, I'm going to keep querying from now until hopefully this book picks up. I told Evelyn, because Evelyn is, Evelyn here on YouTube is not only like my friend on YouTube, but she's also my like in real life writing friends, because we found out that we're actually only like less than 20 minutes away from each other. So we meet up once every other week, and kind of what I told her the other day is I think I'm going to give 2026 as the year to query this book. And if it doesn't get picked up within the year, I don't want to think about having to shelve it, but that might be my reality. You know, we'll see. Hopefully it doesn't come to that. I'm trying to stay really optimistic, which is kind of tough because once again, I'm at the very beginning stages of this process, but it is tough when you like don't hear back from people, or, you know, they're really nice and they're like, hey, I'm just not the right person to championship that. That's all really great and dandy, but it's still hard to hear. The more the more you hear it, the little bit easier it is to kind of just like, okay, you know, thank you. I appreciate your time. Most of what I've gotten so far are form responses, which means that they're like automatic responses people have given to your query, versus like a tailored response is they've actually looked at your query and they might be like, oh, you know, I like this, but this is why it doesn't work for me. It's always really nice to get one that's personalized. I haven't received one yet, but I'm sure it is really nice when that will happen, or does happen. But anyways, all that's to say, you know, we're talking about you starting to draft in February, that I also too hope to start drafting in February. It's been a really long time since I've, you know, had like a blank sheet of paper in front of me and like come up with a new idea. So, I don't know. I'm like so like back and forth because I really liked, calling it Project Fox. I really liked Project Fox. It's a mystery or thriller. I haven't quite decided. And I've never written one of those. And obviously it's like a totally new genre, and the pacing for it is different, right? The red herrings need to be put in there. And I think that's kind of what's tripping me up. I think if it was literally any other genre, I would like jump back into it. But because that's what it is, I'm just like, this is hard. It's like a puzzle, you know? Let's see. We have Jim that says, hey, first time viewer. Welcome, Jim. Welcome to the stream. Thanks for giving me a productivity opportunity today. Amazing. Let us know what you're working on. Gianni says, it's a magical realism story about a woman who gets her sense of self stolen. She and her best friend go on a quest through the forest and its realms to find the creature and get her essence back. Actually, I don't think I knew that, because I would remember that. So that's really cool. That's a really cool idea. Love that. Okay. So let's see. Johnny said the idea is to depict feeling a loss of identity as an adult. Oh, interesting. So that kind of sounds like it might be more on the sad side. But I think a lot of people would resonate with that, you know, when you think about like just getting older and like your identity shifts, I think, as you get older, kind of like different chapters of a book, you know? So that's really cool. That's a really cool idea. Thanks for sharing. We're going to go ahead and start prepping for our next sprint. Let me know in the chat what you guys are hoping to accomplish in this next sprint. So for me personally, as I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, I was hoping to get out 2 query letters today. Got one done. I did already find the second person that I want to query, which love that, because honestly, half of the hurdle is finding someone you want to query and that you think is going to be a good fit. And so for me, that means like when I look at people's manuscript wish lists, I'm trying to find like mythological fiction. So I did find someone who is interested in mythology, specifically in untold mythology, which is what I would classify as my story because I've really only found 2 books so far about the Amazons. And so I'm really excited. She is someone who I've been looking at this agency for a while because there was somebody else that I wanted to query there, but her submission inbox has been closed for a long time, and I don't think it's going to open until February. So I think I'm going to go ahead and query this other agent, and then if she doesn't like it, I can always go back to the first agent if I want to. But anywho, let's see. We have Jim that said, I don't even know what I'm doing yet. Oh, in terms of productivity, getting my thoughts together. So I'll probably start with cleaning my office. Amazing. We love some spring cleaning. Is it too early to say spring cleaning? Probably because I still have my Christmas tree up. But never hurts to start cleaning. And then Stephanie says, I'm just adding to the list. Yes, of figuring out how to wade through the trudge that is draft 3. I totally feel you. Let me go ahead and get the timer set up. Dun dun dun. We're gonna do 30 minutes. Alrighty. And I wish I knew how to. There's a way to like play background music. Actually, this is a question for you guys. There's a way to play background music while the timer is going, kind of like at the beginning how I had background music while the timer counted down to start the stream. I haven't added that. Let me know if that's what if you guys would be interested in that, because I just silence all the sounds. But if you guys would be interested in music, just let me know and I can add that in a future stream. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started, and I'll see you guys on the other side. All right, all right, all right. Time is up. Hopefully you can hear me. And how did that go for everyone? Feel free to share last lines or word counts in the comment section, or you can share both. I don't discriminate here. Personally, that went well for me. So I queried the agent that I talked about and when we took after the last break. And I feel good about her. Fingers crossed. And then I actually found another one. So I started the query process with her as well because I was just like, why not? I had like 15 minutes left on the clock, so I just went ahead and started. I haven't finished. I'll probably finish after this sprint because I only have like a couple more things to put in. And so that means I will actually have done queried 3 agents during our time together, which is super exciting. Snaps, not what I expected, but really happy with it. So hopefully, that is indicative of the rest of my Sunday. So let's go into the chat. Let's see here. Okay. So Alana said, I'm 26 weeks pregnant on Wednesday this week, and it's been awesome writing my first book. Amazing. I decided to dive in and just do it after wanting to write for so many years. I never thought I could do it. It's given me and my oldest daughter, 12 years old, something to bond over as she's writing her first as well. Oh, so now we have our own little writing group at home and it's fun. Oh my gosh, that's so amazing. I love that for you. I, as of tomorrow, am going to be 31 weeks pregnant. So I totally feel you when it comes to writing while pregnant. It is a challenge. I don't think I really talk about it that much on this channel because I try not to, there's a whole pregnancy rabbit hole you can go down on YouTube, and I try to just talk about writing on my channel, but for real, writing while you're pregnant is tough. At least for me it is, because of all the different hormones and you're exhausted and you're tired, but good for you to be writing and just know that I am proud of you. Green Ruled said J.K. Rowling wrote Harry Potter while pregnant with her second child, which is so crazy to me because the Harry Potter series is just something else. I can't even imagine doing it while I was pregnant. I just don't think I had that kind of foresight or stamina to have done that. Alana said, that's awesome. I still have yet to watch and read the Harry Potter series. Oh, girl, you're missing out. That's a big inspiration. I don't know how much about her personally, so maybe I could do some research and learn. That was essentially my whole childhood was Harry Potter, but I wasn't technically allowed to watch it, so I actually watched it as an adult later. Gianni said, I got a little bit more done, then got interrupted by an adorable cat for cuddles. Oh, so sweet. So you guys can't see her, but my golden retriever is laying on the couch beside me. She doesn't, because I'm pregnant, she doesn't like to leave me anymore. She's very attached to me. It's very cute. And she said, assume you got 3 done. Yes, I am gonna get 3 done here within the next 5 minutes after this stream. Excellent work. Oh, thanks, Jim. Hopefully you were able to get some cleaning done. Margot said, finish that last chapter and halfway through another. Amazing. I love that for you. And then Kajihim said, 179 words. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Everybody had such great progress. I'm so happy for everyone. This was a good writing day. I'm so proud of all of us. So thank you guys so much for joining this chat today. I've thought about trying to be on a more consistent live stream schedule because, when I started doing these in November by myself, I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. And so I've thought about incorporating maybe I'll live stream once a week. So I'm thinking about doing those on Sundays around this time. It seems to be a decent time that works for people. So stay tuned, and then stay tuned for next week because, as I mentioned earlier, Stephanie and I are going to be live streaming on Sunday. I'll post the details this week on the exact time because I need to work that out with her. But thank you guys so much for coming today and writing with me and just having an overall good Sunday. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you guys in another one. Bye.